Today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about why you shouldn't use too much pressure especially when you play upper notes. And this is specifically for brass instruments, and trumpet players are probably the worst, have the most problems with this. When I was growing up, uh, when I was a student, it was a big deal, especially the trumpet players and the trombone players. And I had a friend, a baritone player also. We were competing who could play the highest note. And the trumpet players in high school and in college, at the end of a big band rehearsal, they would have something called a scream off, see who could hit the highest notes. This is not necessarily a very good thing, but they always also discussed the techniques to do this. And one of the techniques, what they traded a lot, and we traded a lot also as trombone players and tuba players, everybody, is how to play without using too much pressure. Not pushing that can cause a lot of problems. I'm first going to tell you what problems it can cause, because some professional musicians and some of my friends have had problems because they've used too much pressure. One of my friends, who trumpet player I played with after he had his problems, when he was correcting his problems, he was doing a lot of touring, there was a lot of drugs and things going around, and he was a trumpet player, and he used so much pressure and was playing wrong that he developed a condition called Bell's palsy, where the part of the nerves were blocked, and just like in a stroke, where a part of the face drooped. Of course, this messes up your embouchure. He'd spent years correcting this problem. He switched to bass trumpet, or basically like a trombone, a valve trombone, and played for years trying to get back what he got, and he has gotten back. And he's a great. I'm not going to mention his name, but he's a good friend of mine. I played many jobs with him, and the trombone section, and behind me in the trumpet section in big bands. I've mentioned him in another video. You have to watch the other video if you want to find out, especially my video on the Gloomy Sunday. He's in that video. So watch the Gloomy Sunday if you want to find out what trumpet player I'm talking about. And other professional trumpet players have had problems. I think Lynn Bibliano blew out his chops. A most famous chop blowout in the mid-60s, a star of the trumpet, one of the most famous trumpet players, who Stan Kenton made him a star. As you know how the song goes. I'm not talking about Frank Rosalind or Carl Fontana. He made them stars, but in the trumpet section was Maynard Ferguson. Most people don't know. In the mid-60s, he blew out his chops. In other words, he had problems, and he's noticed as a high note player. He stopped playing, went to India, and totally rebalanced his playing. What I talk about in my videos is the balance between the air, the narrowing, the mouth, and the chops, and the lifts, and the embouchure. He's learned how to play, again, not using too much pressure. That was Maynard Ferguson, my God. So, through my friends in growing up in bands and marching band and stage bands, jazz bands, had all these theories about how to practice not using pressure, how to develop that. Now, in some of my other instructional videos, I go more into depth in how to balance. Balance is very important. But here, some of the most crazy things were to hang your instrument from the ceiling on strings or something, and then don't use your hands, and then just hang from the ceiling, and then practice that way. Of course, that's pretty nuts, crazy. I don't know if any of you out there have done this. Please let me know. I never tried it. Trombone's a little difficult to do that. So another one was on your kitchen table, you put your instrument with the mouthpiece out and you kind of go down and you blow into it without using your hands. That's not very practical either. So now many teachers teach techniques on how to reduce your pressure, because if you don't reduce your pressure, you can mess up your embouchure, you can blow out your chops, you can cut off the nerves, you can affect the muscles by cutting off the blood supply to your muscles in your lips. It's a very serious thing to talk about. So here now before I talk about the actual techniques of how to reduce your pressure, if you are having problems with using too much pressure, I'll tell you what. How you know? How do you know I'm using too much pressure? Well, when you take the instrument off your mouth, when you stop playing, and your lips are white because there's no more blood flow, that's a big sign. And also, if you start getting a really bad groove, and this is normally after years, many trumpet players and trombone players have, I can even see my lips, I have a little bit strange, but not too bad. I practiced no pressure playing for many years ago. You tend to distort your scar tissue actually on your lips. So that's another way to know that you're using too much pressure. Now the thing is, after you're playing high notes, you use too much pressure, your tone goes. Your sound, it sounds bad, like crap. In other words, because you're losing you lose control of your you can't play a B flat scale or something after playing a bunch of high notes. I had a friend who had that problem. So now, before I talk about the actual techniques, please subscribe to my channel. Please help me out. I need help. If I'm going to continue making videos, I need subscribers. And so if I don't have enough subscribers, I can't sell things. I've got many products I want to sell. I can't make any money. So please help me out and subscribe. And like this video, of course. And so now, what are the techniques? Many are specific for each instrument. For example, trumpet. Trumpet players, well, and for trumpet players, especially the classical guys, are very strict about this when they hold, the way they hold their instrument. You don't, the trumpets have a ring. They have the left hand, and then you have a ring there with the valves. Okay? They teach you to take that pinky out of the ring and put it on top. Put it on top of and don't use that pinky finger to push into your mouth. Okay? And also on the bottom, they tell you not to force with that. Or if you're having trouble on the bottom, they also have a ring for adjusting the tone, and not to use that to press. And also, just in practicing, some teachers teach to hold the left hand to hold, just holding the valve casing like this, and then playing. Very good techniques for trumpet players. Another thing they do, and also with the trombone players, is buzzing. There's a million videos out there on YouTube about how to buzz, because buzz and not to press. Use buzzing to practice, to strengthen your chops and not use excess force, not use excess pressure. I've discovered my own personal thing to do, was by accident on trombone. You notice, let me get it in the picture, right, this way. Notice on trombone I have these silicone tubes here because I have a fairly acidic skin, and I cut these out to protect my protect my clothes and my hands from the green. It is silver. I have a silver sonic trombone, 3B, but with this acidic skin, even if I keep it absolutely clean, I put this silicone tubing on there. Buy this, I don't remember the size, but it depends. And then would cut it in half and then put it on the parts that are bad. And I noticed that if I use too much pressure, that especially this piece here will spin. If I use too much pressure, because when you use pressure on the trombone, your left hand pushes in, because your right hand uses the slide. So this is all of your support, and this is where the pressure comes from trombone players pushing in here, like Carl Fontana there. I don't know if you can see him. He doesn't use pressure. And so I noticed that if I just support loosely, to see if I'm using too much pressure, if I'm using too much pressure, my thumb will slide, will rotate. On here, go. I don't know if you can see. Let's see. It goes like this. Whoops. Is it too much pressure? Oh, that's too much pressure. Then I'm practice not using pressure, too much pressure. So, so that's pretty much it. Let me know your results, if I help you or not, and in the comments. That's pretty much it for today. Please subscribe again. Talk to you again soon.